Every team, every topic, everywhere. This is Believe.
Hello and welcome to Hoosier Football Tailgate here on the Believe Network. It's Thursday and it's November the 9th as the Hoosiers get ready to take on the Fighting Illini in Illinois, or Champaign, Illinois this weekend, Saturday afternoon, 12 o'clock kickoff. All can be seen on the Big Ten Network. Just a quick reminder, I want to thank BetOnline for their sponsorship of the Hoosier Football Tailgate. And remember, BetOnline is your number one source for all things sports wagering, NFL, college football, basketball, NHL, you name it, they've got it. From up-to-date stats, your latest odds, any type of parlays that you wanted to do, and teasers, you can all find that on BetOnline. Remember, BetOnline is where the game starts. Well, like I said, the Hoosiers will take on the Fighting Illini of Illinois this Saturday at 12 o'clock kickoff in Champaign, Illinois, Memorial Stadium there. All can be seen on the Big Ten Network. A big game for both teams when it comes down to trying to achieve bowl eligibility. The Fighting Illini is 4-5 overall currently after coming off a big win at Minnesota, throwing a last-second touchdown to beat Minnesota at Minnesota. And all of it done in pretty outstanding fashion when you consider their starting quarterback gets hurt. He gets hurt, and I think that was Altmaier. He gets hurt. He's a transfer from Ole Miss. He gets hurt after leading Illinois all day on their final drive. John Paddock, and that name may sound a little bit familiar because he is the transfer from Ball State, comes in on a 4th and 11 play. 4th and 11 with Illinois about on their, I believe it's their 15-yard line. Throws a strike on 4th and 11 for about an 18-yard gain. And then 2 plays later, they hit a post route over the middle to Isaiah, the leading wide receiver on the year. On a post route, he hits him in stride, and not only gets that, but then they get that big touchdown. Then, of course, their defense steps in and stops Minnesota from going any further. But just a truly a fascinating ball game. And prior to that, had Illinois gotten one more first down, that ball game's over. And they were unable to do it and left the door open for Illinois. I believe that may have been their third game where a last-second play sealed the victory for them. I know there was one at, was it Rutgers? The other one may have been, no, was it Maryland? The other one may have been Wisconsin. And then this past weekend in Minneapolis, Minnesota, that Illinois was able to do that. But it was a pretty astonishing way that Illinois was able to do that and get themselves the victory. Like I said, they are 4-5 on the year. The way the West in that division's going right now, I don't think they're necessarily totally out of the picture of kind of winning that West division, especially after they beat Minnesota. But the Hoosiers come into Saturday's game, their scenario 3-6, needing to continue to win in order for them to get to bowl eligibility as well. So you got two very similar teams that are playing Saturday, both playing for something. And so it should be one darn good ball game because of what both teams bring to the table on both sides of the football. Illinois has got a very good defense. We're going to show some things that they do, especially with their defensive front, that can create some problems. And if Indiana doesn't have an answer for it, it's going to be a long day from that standpoint. And then offensively, not quite sure what the scenario at quarterback will be, but Paddock is a very capable kid playing in their system of things where they do a lot of RPOs and things of that magnitude. Not an overly gifted run team, but they do just enough to do the right things to get by. And we'll cover that in a little bit here. Prior to getting into all of that, want to give a few minutes here because it is Thursday. The Big Ten is awaiting Michigan is awaiting the Big Ten response as it pertains to any potential punishments to give to the Michigan to be potentially handed out by the Big Ten commissioner and the Big Ten overall for this sign stealing scenario that's kind of overtaken the news of the Big Ten and so forth. And because Michigan plays Penn State this Saturday, that's a pretty darn good, important ball game for Michigan and as well as Penn State. But this has kind of dominated the headlines. And just to fill everybody in that has not paid overly close attention to this scenario, Michigan had a member of their staff, a low-level member, if you want to say that, but he was a part of their staff. He was on the payroll, making about $55,000 a year. Connor Stallions, and he had been going off campus to advanced scout their opponents, and doing so by either being in the stadium or paying someone to be in the stadium to electronically film the sign givers for each offense and defense. And there are also pictures of him on the sidelines at Central Michigan. And I believe, I want to say there was another Western Michigan, him in their team attire doing this even this year by doing all this. And this all kind of got out and leaked out and everything from their, standpoint from their goes on. But, I've seen a couple of tweets that I found interesting. Here's one, if we can pull it up here. This is from Dan Wetzel from Yahoo, I believe. Michigan's letter to the Big Ten notes that its margin of victory this season has gone from 34 points to 38 points since Connor Stallions was suspended. There's simply no evidence that Stallions' actions had a material effect on any of the Michigan games this season. Well, I don't believe that is a reason for what they either are going to have punished or not. It's beside the point. And then Dan Wetzel even says, well, there's other schools that have been involved in quote unquote sign stealing or passing information. And he says either they all get punished or no get punished. And this is where the things are getting conflated and you're intermixing the two. And as it pertains to college football and what is permitted and what's not permitted, it is very detailed outline in the NCAA bylaws that there's to be no off-campus scouting of any kind with electronic devices or anything by any member of one's staff or anyone directing someone to go do it. That is a violation of NCAA rules. And the NCAA is dealing with that right now, gathering the evidence. But the NCAA will not be done with their investigation and hand their evidence over to Michigan, who then has a 90-day period to respond prior to the season being over or even prior to the college football playoffs. So throw that aside. That's going to be something that happens in the offseason where they will deal with the Michigan whatever way. In the Big Ten category, the way it is that they can levy something informed in their sportsmanship category, and it gives, I think it's Pettit, all the responsibility to hand out any type of punishment. Conflating the two between what Michigan has done in terms of sign stealing and what any other team out there has done by either passing along information or things of that magnitude. You can pass along any information you want to your fellow coaching buddies at other schools. It may not be totally ethically to do that, and very seldom does that even occur. But even if it did, it's not illegal. So you can't even say if that's, that's an illegal. That is not. It's not illegal. It doesn't mean jack crap on what happens between two teams in terms of handing notes over to an opposing coach who may be playing Michigan or Michigan State next week, and they're getting information about that particular team. That's not illegal. So don't even conflate that. What Michigan is alleged to have done is that they went off campus and did all these things that this coach, who was paid by Michigan, to gather information on opposing teams. Now, whether Harbaugh knew that or not is also irrelevant in this equation, because he's the ultimate authority within that program. And if there is somebody on his staff doing something that's illegal and nobody is alerting him to that point, then you know what? That's bad on all of them, because this guy was paying for tickets and allegedly getting reimbursed for them and paying for mileage and hotels and things of that magnitude for people that he hired. But the fact of the matter is, whether Jim Harbaugh knew it, was applauding it and was all for it, or whether Jim Harbaugh was completely in the dark, the fact of the matter, he is the head coach of the Michigan Wolverines, and everybody that he has hired underneath him is his responsibility, full stop. So whatever Michigan gets handed down to them in form of a punishment, if everything is taken care of in the next day or so, I can't sit here and say it's not warranted. Now, I don't have all the evidence other than what I've read in the media, but I do know that you can't do what they are alleged to have done, and they have evidence that it was done, and not be punished for it. Now, whether they benefited from it, did not benefit from it, however you want to measure that, again, irrelevant. Now, does this need to be affecting the kids in Michigan football team? Because they're having a great year. They're potentially in line to make the college football playoffs and make another run at a Big Ten championship. In my opinion, I'm sorry, but it does. To allow this to go unpunished, irregardless of whether it benefited or not benefited the team. You cannot, in my opinion, let them compete for a Big Ten championship. Now, as far as the college football playoffs are concerned, that's completely outside of the Big Ten. They may do with what they wish. But the Big Ten, I think, has an obligation to come down hard and come down hard on them. Now, I know Michigan's threatening lawsuits and, they're throwing their weight around, and whatever injunction relief they may be able to get, good for them. Highly doubt that any court is going to involve themselves in this matter. This is not something that a court should be involved with in the first place. Michigan is a part of the Big Ten Conference. They are there to abide by the bylaws and the rules of not only the NCAA and the Big Ten. And when you break those rules, they need to be dealt a punishment. And in this case, the Big Ten needs to make that call. Now, however that plays out, it plays out. I have no dog in that fight. I've given my opinion as a former coach and how I feel if I was a head coach in the Big Ten and I'm watching a team benefit from this fiasco, and then saying that you're going to allow them to go represent your side of the conference in the Big Ten championship. Yeah, I would take a little offense to that. But I'm neither in that position or not. So I've given you my opinion on it. I think enough is enough. And whether or not that impacts Indiana at all as it pertains to wins and losses, whether they would do anything that severe, we won't know until it's all said and done. So without ado, let's move forward and not worry about this and worry about the Fighting Illini of Brett Bielema, who's done a pretty darn good job since he's got there on campus. And we know that he's got a situation where he's got to get to bowl eligibility. And let's look at some statistical stuff here for them. Right now, it's a pretty even ball game across the field. I mean, Illinois is giving about 27 points a game. Their third down efficiency, fourth down efficiency is okay, not great. IU has improved a little bit, but they're becoming a little bit more stagnant in terms of their third down efficiency. It's kind of gone down a little bit, but as you can see overall, it's a pretty even matchup of Indiana's offense versus Illinois' defense. And then when you look at Indiana's defense versus the Illinois offense statistically, again, it's a pretty even breakdown between those two segments of the game. So the real big thing in this whole matter is I think IU holds the turnover margin against Illinois, because that's something that they have done. They've thrown 10 picks on the year, and I think they've lost a few fumbles, so they're not immune from turning the football over. And matter of factly, that's kind of something that's kind of plagued them here all year. And then some of the players that we need to keep an eye on, again, running back is a pretty good player. He's, Fegan is his name, 52.25 yards average per game. They really don't have a bona fide backup, but if Altmaier is in the game, he is also a dual threat quarterback. He's averaging about 31 yards a game, completing about 65% of his passes. Now, he's thrown 10 picks on the year, 209 yards per game, but he went out late in that game against Minnesota, and I'm not sure whether he will be ready or not. So the other gentleman that could be in there at quarterback, like I said earlier, is number 4 is Paddock, the kid from Ball State. Altmaier is actually a transfer from Ole Miss. Isaiah Williams is their big receiver. That's the guy they love to target. He's got 59 receptions on the year, 693 yards overall. And then you can see down here at the bottom some of their big time guys when it comes to defense: Coleman, Randolph Jr., and Newton. Those 3 guys are all pretty good guys in terms of tackle for losses and sacks on the year. And then the 2 linebackers, Dylan Rozak and Miles Scott, a DB, are their top 2 tacklers on the year when it comes to that. So you can see right there that, they got some good players. Uncertainty about Altmaier and his availability this weekend. We probably won't know until Saturday morning at some point whether he's going or the Paddock kid is playing. But Paddock is definitely a very capable young man to step in for Altmaier if that is indeed what is going to happen Saturday. So let's look here at some of the the goals for this game. I think IU has got a rush for 125 yards, 275 in their passing game, 28 points, and then look for them to hold them to 17 points on Saturday with no crimes against the team, as we like to put it, cats, special teams, and then win the turnover margin on Saturday afternoon in Bloomington. And you can see that that is going to be a big thing for Indiana in this ball game on Saturday. So please like and subscribe on YouTube, Apple Podcast, and Spotify. Get there, give us a like, and give us a rating if you personally can. And also remember, Bet Online. Bet Online is your number one source for all things sports wagering, and you get 50% using the code BELIEVE, BLEAV, on your first deposit. You'll get 50% back on top of that to you if you use that promo code BELIEVE. Remember, Bet Online is where the game starts. We'll catch you on Monday with a recap of this game against the Fighting Illini in Champaign, Illinois on Saturday, 12 o'clock kickoff on the Big Ten Network. I am the coach, Shannon Griffith, and this has been the Hoosier Football Tailgate right here on the Believe Network.